In this video, I'm going to show you some of the new assembly techniques from the textbook, Chapter 3, Part 2. So for homework, you'll show me a screenshot of the front support assembly assembled. So I'm looking for the correct mates. The new mates you're going to use are parallel and distance. You're also going to use a new technique called smart mates, which I'll show you in the video. So here's a front support assembly. This is what you'll get when you finish with Chapter 3. So we got 4 parts, but there's multiple copies of a few of them. You should have made all of these parts, including the screw part, earlier in this chapter. So I'm just going to go through some of the mates that you'll use for this assembly. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of the mates I have. So I open up my mate tree. I can scroll through and I could delete them individually. See, I can see where that parallel is, etc. I'm just going to get rid of every single one of them. So I'm going to click the first one, hold down Shift, select the last one, right click, delete, and then yes to all to get rid of all of my mates. Okay, so now I could grab any part and just move it around, except for this part right here. It's got the F right here next to it. That F means fixed. You can float that part. You can make it not fixed by right-clicking it, coming down here to float. That will let it move around. But you always need at least one fixed part in an assembly for all of the other parts to be defined. So let's take a look at the hex standoff first. I'm going to attach this on the bottom side of this part, concentric with this hole. So the first thing I'll do, select the inside surface of the hex standoff. Don't be shy about zooming in so you can really see what you're doing. Don't want to select an edge. You want to select that inside surface. Zoom out, come over here, hit Control, and select that surface. Okay. I'm going to go to the concentric mate, click, and zoom out, and it will be concentric. Okay. So now I hold down the middle mouse wheel so I can pan over. I'll pull this part down. What I'm getting at here is you need to be able to zoom, pan, scroll around an assembly to apply the mates. You can't just stay in one place and do everything. So get zoomed in so you can really see what you're doing. You don't want to be trying to select stuff out here. Okay, so remember the F key will zoom you in, but the mouse wheel will get you in further. So I've got this bottom surface here selected, hit Control, and select that surface. I want these two to be coincident, so it's going to slide right in there. Now the last part, a new mate we're going to use, is called parallel. What we want to do is keep this hex part from spinning. One technique for doing that is selecting this surface and then this surface on the side of the part and choosing parallel. Okay? So click, it's going to straighten up, and now that part is fully defined. There's no minus mark next to it. Next, we'll attach the screw to that same location. So exact same idea. Select this surface. I want to select this surface, right? Coincident or concentric. Pan over so I can see the bottom. Select this surface and hit Control. Select that surface. Make it coincident. Okay. Now, if you wanted to keep the screw from rotating, you could select one of these flat surfaces, Control, select that flat surface, and make it parallel. You could also make it perpendicular. It would end up doing the exact same thing. So next, let's chat about this triangle, okay? So we want bolts to go through this slot, each of these parts, and connect them. So the way we'll attach, or the book specifies to attach this triangle, is to make this arc concentric with this arc. Okay, so I select that surface, hit Control, select that surface, and I can make them coincident because an arc is a part of a circle, so it does have an axis. Okay? Coincident, right? I'm going to need something else because this is free to spin around. Okay? So I'm just going to move this out of the way, select this, I'll zoom in so I can see what I'm doing, hit Control, select this surface, concentric, right? And zoom out. Now, the new mate we're going to use is called distance, right? So I need to lock this part in. The way I do it, select this surface, scroll over, control this surface. Normally we use coincident, but there are times when you want parts spaced out. So the way you can do that is right here with the distance mate. So we're going to specify a distance that that triangle should stay away from that other part. Notice how the triangle is fully defined, but it's floating in space. Right? We applied that distance mate. It's basically a coincident with a dimension attached to it. So we could go down here if we needed to adjust that distance mate, because the book specifies it'd be 0 inches away. So I'm going to edit that distance mate, and here is the distance right here. So I'm going to enter in 0, and it'll slide right back in. What the distance mate allows you to do is have more control over your design intent if you think something is going to move at assembly. So I'm good with that mate. I'll exit that. The last thing I'll chat about are quick mates. So quick mates are really handy when you're putting things like screws into an assembly. So I'm going to delete these 2 screws to get them out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. I'll delete this one as well. So say we want to add these in the assembly. I'm going to hit this button right here to move the tile over. I'm going to open the screw part. Okay, so now I got 2 windows going on at once. Quick mates, you have to have these 2 windows open, one for the part, one for the assembly. So what I'll do is grab this edge of my screw. Okay, grab this edge. I'm going to hold the button down and drag it into my assembly. If you notice, right next to my cursor is an icon. This indicates that it's going to give you a concentric and a coincident mate that you would typically use for a screw. So I let go of the mouse button, and it'll drop the part right on there. So it's still free to spin, but it added that coincident and that concentric basically for free. Okay, so it's a much quicker way to add screws into an assembly. So I can just rinse and repeat. If you needed to add 10 of them, this is a much faster way to do it. So that's it for this video. I'll give instructions on Blackboard for the screenshot I want for an assignment.